Hello, welcome to Slapshot. My name is Rick Wagen. This is our inaugural show, and I want to introduce myself, talk a little bit about what we'll be talking about on these shows, and I look forward to many more episodes. My name is Rick Wagen. Like I mentioned, I was born in Montreal, Canada, in the early '70s. I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan through and through. I'm a big hockey fan. I follow the NHL. I follow a lot of the minor leagues, as well as NCAA, junior, KHL, and other sports like football and golf and baseball and basketball. Um, we'll be concentrating mostly on hockey on this channel, but wanted to introduce myself, wanted to talk a little bit about, you know, the Montreal Canadiens. Obviously, um, growing up in the late 70s, early 80s, had an opportunity to watch a few great teams in Montreal, as well as in New York on the island, as well as in Edmonton when I was younger. Canadians haven't won a cup since '93, but neither has anyone else in Canada. Over the last 30 plus years, it's been an interesting run. Actually born and raised in Montreal, but I live in Southern California right now. I follow the Ducks, I follow the Kings, I follow the Sharks, and many of the teams out here out west as well. Um, for today, I'd like to kind of set the stage. It's September 17th. And so, from that perspective, we're kind of on the eve of the training camp. We just had rookie camp in Montreal. I also had the opportunity to take a look at the rookie camp over in out west as well. I can explain some of the players I saw there. In Montreal, obviously, you had players like Lane Hudson and Owen Beck and Mayu and Reinbacher and Engstrom performing very well. I'm sure I'm leaving one or two out, but it was an interesting camp. Cowan was pretty good too on the Toronto side, and then you have on the Duck side. I was very interested to see Cutter Gauthier. Um, the Sharks had Will Smith. There was a lot of great talent, out there this week. But let's kind of backtrack a little bit on the Montreal Canadiens. Obviously, the last 2 3 years, 2 years I guess, they haven't performed up to the standards of the Montreal Canadiens. But I think it's been very clear that they've gone into a rebuild mode. Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton have done a great job of kind of taking the prospects and resources that they did have, and kind of reworking them, either developing the ones they have, and then obviously making trades or drafting some great prospects to kind of move into to key roles moving forward. Um, over the last couple of years, the playoffs was a bit of a pipe dream for Montreal. I don't think anyone believed they would get there. Many people still believe that they're a year or two or more away from making the playoffs. I fall a little bit in the optimist side of that, but not. I wouldn't put my money down on that one. Let's put it that way. I think if you look at the Montreal Canadiens 24-25 season ahead of them, last year they had 76 points. They lost over 15 games by less than a goal, or by a goal or less, by a goal. And so basically, um, you know, if they win half of those, they're mid 80s, high 80s in points, which is still 10 points away from a playoff spot. Um, what's changed? If you look at this team, obviously they lost Kirby Doc in the first couple of games of the season. He looked great in preseason. He looked great in the first couple of games. He really looked like a 1B center that was, taking a step. And so, from that perspective, losing him was big, and getting him back this year is a huge step by itself. Then you add a Patrick Laney, who, of course, had 40 plus goals in the NHL and has had many seasons above 20 and 30. Since then, he's had a rough couple of years, both from physical and mental perspective, and so really, he's a reclamation project. You know, we had Sean Monahan. We had some others that weren't as successful. But I think the Montreal Canadiens are hopeful that he can come in and score 25, 35 goals, and he's hopeful he gets 40 or 50. So, you know, that would be a huge step and a huge boost for the Canadiens if it does work out. The other person that's, you know, maybe I'm a little optimistic on this one, but I've been following the young kid for a long time is Lane Hudson. Lane Hudson is going to be a small 20-year-old, 19, 20-year-old defenseman playing his first season in the NHL if he makes it, and I think he will. I've been watching that kid for a long time. My kids are similar ages to Lane Hudson, and it just so happens that my older son played hockey with a great hockey player. I mentioned his name already, Cutter Gauthier in Arizona, and so I've been kind of following Cutter's career, and for the last 4 or 5 years, Cutter and Lane have played on either the same team or against each other in Boston U and Boston College. So, just watching that player, granted he's small, and it does affect his ability to take people away in front of the net, win some battles in the corners using physique, but he's such a smart hockey player, and he's actually way better defensively than people give him credit. He's an amazing skater. I wouldn't call him super fast or the greatest backward skater. You know, the Montreal Canadiens have a guy like Matheson who's just, and Gooley. These kids can skate. And I wouldn't call Matheson a kid, but Gooley is. But Lane Hudson just has this ability to just be so dynamic on his edges. The other variable that I haven't seen in a long time, and this is probably where some people say I'm a little bit out there, but Lane Hudson has elite times 10 passing and vision skills. I haven't seen this type of skill in a long time, and I'm throwing out the Wayne Gretzky name and some other names. When we're talking about passing, I'm not going to call it this kid's going to score 215 points and 92 goals, but finding a guy that's open, an Adam Oates. I'm thinking of players that can pass the puck. He's up there. He's got some special skill of finding people and making them and getting them open and getting them the opportunity to score. And that's why wherever he's been, he's gotten a ton of points. Obviously, he's played in great teams and great levels, but those players that have played with him, if you talk to Celebrini and talk to Cutter, they all say the same thing. This kid is special. He's going to be good wherever he is. And some people are like, well, okay, he's done great in the NCAA. He's done great in the junior tournament. He even did great in the rookie development camps and so forth. But can it move forward in the NHL? Well, I got a chance, and many of us got a chance to see 2 games of Lane Hudson in the NHL, and got, I believe, 2 assists. One of them was definitely one of his patented kind of shimmy shakes at the blue line before he got the puck over and got in front of the net, and then Gallagher scored one of his garbage goals. But end of the day, that kid could actually help Laney, help Caulfield, help Slafkovsky, help Waugh, help Suzuki, and Doc put the puck in the net. And just by giving them opportunities that are just wide open. And Celebrini, first overall pick, got a chance to play with him all year, and that guy had more open shots than I could ever imagine than any other player in the league. So that is Lane Hudson, and Doc are a huge improvement. The other side of the fence is on the goaltending. I would never, Jake Allen's a good, solid veteran goalie, but having 3 goalies, it was just probably very difficult for both management, not management, coaching, and the players to kind of get any type of momentum. And what that means is if you had a Sam Montembeault play a great game, he had maybe 3 or 4 times where he played back-to-back games all year. Most number 1 goalies will get a chance to play back-to-back games several times in a year, And not only that, but they'll be able to play 3, 4 games in a row sometimes, and that could potentially drive consistency, drive confidence, and actually improve your team's chances of winning games, even if the goalie isn't much better than the second and third goalie. And I'm not saying he isn't, but the opportunity to give your goalies back-to-back games if they're playing well and riding the hot hand should lead to 3 to 5 more wins on this team. When they were just losing by a goal 15 times, it should drive an additional 5-10 points their way. So from my perspective, you take those variables, and Mayu's going to have a chance to step up. Joshua is going to have some opportunities to play on the top nine. There are some players that had some off years last year that can do better. Put all those pieces together, this Montreal Canadiens team could easily get 10 to 15 points higher than they did last year. If they're getting 86 to 91 points this year, they're competing for the playoffs. Will they win or make the playoffs? I think it's highly doubtful. But I think this is the year where they're going to take that step where finishing fifth to last is not acceptable. And moving forward, they should get to a point where, 91, 95, 100 points is in sight. And by January, February, this team should be in the playoffs should be in their crosshairs, and they should be aiming for that. Will they get there? I think it's low chances, but they shouldn't be in the bottom 5 or even bottom 10 in my opinion at this point. That being said, the Atlantic is stacked, right? You have the Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. You have the perennial playoff and strong team of the Tampa Bay Lightning, who lost to Stamkos but gained against Gensel. They lost a couple other players too, but we'll see how that plays out. They have great management and great coaching, so we'll see how that plays out. And then you have the Boston Bruins, who never seem to lose a beat even when they lose players, and they continue to gain some players as well. And then you have the Toronto Maple Leafs, who have a great core group of 3 or 4 superstars on their team, and they seem to be able to do very well in the regular season that gets them into the playoffs. They haven't been as successful in the playoffs, and I don't know if they made any major changes to get there, but we'll see. And then you have the Detroit Red Wings, who I think are, on the doorstep. And, the Buffalo Sabres and the Ottawa Senators are probably a couple years ahead of the Canadiens in terms of their rebuild. That being said, I don't think they're doing as good a job. I mean, we'll see, but I'm not as optimistic about those two organizations as I am the Detroit Red Wings. And so the Canadiens need to get past 3 or 4 of those teams to have a chance to make the playoffs. I think it's a tall order, and that doesn't leave out the fact that the Metropolitan has a bunch of great teams, and after the first 3 teams, it starts competing for the playoffs as well. So again, a lot of good talent on the Montreal Canadiens, a lot of young talent that's about to progress. I think it all depends on the progress of some of their younger talent, their top line. The Canadiens have Suzuki, Caulfield, and Slafkovsky. The ability to bring Doc in and keep him healthy, and he actually executes and does well. The ability that Laney could bring to the table, and Lane Hudson could bring a whole new dimension offensively on the defensive side of the puck. I'm excited about the team. I'm excited about the year. I don't, like I said, I believe the Florida Panthers have only gotten stronger. I think the Boston Bruins are going to be there. The Maple Leafs are going to be there, and the Red Wings are going to be there as well. I think Tampa could take a step back this year, but I would never bet against their coach and their general manager and their team with Kucherov and Point and a bunch of great players and their goaltending. So that being said, that's my precursor to the training camp. I plan to have guests on these calls with me on these shows with me. I plan to have both athletes as well as other friends and people that I've talked to about the sport. Hopefully you like this. We'll be able to find ways to interact together. Um, welcome to the first show of Slapshot with Rick Wagen. Thank you.